Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm looking at question 3, the language question, in the November 2019 AQA English Language Paper 2 paper. That's the shooting the elephant, or just general traumatic, horrific elephants living in cruel conditions paper. Again, as usual, if you've not seen this, I will just pause it here so that you can skim over the extract. Okay, so that's that saucy, which is about the shooting in Burma, George Orwell, and the second one, which is around the elephant being kept in captivity here. Okay, so just have a skim over of this and a read of it if you've not managed to have access to the extract. Okay, right, with this tutorial I wanted, rather than just writing you a full 12-mark response, although I will do that. Just wanted to kind of exemplify the difference at different grades, because this question is all about, you know, the exam board talk about the quality of the comment. So it's all about what can you say around the effects of language. There's no real hierarchy for coming out with very sophisticated technique or for doing 8 peel points. What they're looking for is, can you say something interesting and original and quite creative about the way language is being used. So I just wanted to sort of like exemplify the quality of comment at different grades. So for me, this is scraping. You know, this is probably sort of high 3, maybe scraping into a low 4. Not just this by itself, it would need to be a full response in terms of quality of comment. So the writer uses the metaphor. You remember I always start off my responses with the writer uses. So we've got method in terms of that. Sea of faces to describe the crowd. This makes us think that the crowd is huge because the sea is massive. Okay. It's a fairly simple comment. Some people would say it's some comment on effect, but it's simple comment, but there's a connection here that the crowd is huge because we think of the sea as something that's massive. So it's a fairly simple comment. I'm saying simple comment in my language. The exam board would class this as some comment on effects. Simple comments are things like, you know, makes you want to read on, catches our attention, really generic stuff. I'm going to say some attempt a comment. So it's okay. And on a good day, I think that if you kind of carried on the quality of your response like this, you would be, you know, looking at 5 marks-ish out of 12 if it kind of carried on in that, 5 to 6 marks maybe. Sort of moving on then, looking at something that's a bit better. So we start off in exactly the same way. Writer uses the metaphor sea of faces to describe. I've got more detail here, the size and scale of the crowd. So actually my point, if you were doing a peel structure, is a bit more developed. Again, we still write it in the same way the writer uses. We look at our method. But then we're zooming in a bit. So the noun sea evokes an almost unending volume of people and also makes us think that they are moving as one, just like the sea moves as one body of water. So suddenly this quality of the comment is much, much better than saying it's a big crowd because the sea is big. This is an unending, it's focusing not just on the size of it, but the idea of it almost being endless, and the idea of it moving as one, because the sea is just one body of water. So this is a much higher quality, and to me this is kind of, you know, if I was going to be grading that as a kind of quality, I would say this is around a grade 6. In terms of quality. So again, you carry on a response in that kind of style, you've moved up from that maybe scraping into a 4 up to a grade 6 because we've got a much better quality of comment. And then moving, because I know you guys are always interested to know kind of what would get full marks, so moving up to a grade 9 kind of now. Again, we start it in the same way with the writer uses and looking at method. Here. So the writer uses the metaphor sea of faces to describe the powerful movement and force of the crowd. You can see that each time my kind of point gets a bit more sophisticated. The sea is a force of nature, unstoppable and vast. Likewise, we get the sense that this crowd is not only huge, it's also dominating. So there's a really clear connection between the language within the metaphor, that image of the sea, and how it connects to the sense of the crowd. And you can see sort of how evaluative it is. It's unstoppable, it's vast, it's dominating. So there's a real here analysis of the language, and the quality of the comment is moving to perceptive. It's really kind of, there's a real sense, this, you know, sort of understand how meaning is created through language. So the adjective, we're zooming in here, and we've got methods, immense, builds on this idea of size and scale and adds to the idea of the sea of people. So there's this kind of, it's kind of what we might call a sustained response, because I found another example, I'm building on it. The sea is not only vast, it is also indistinct from one area to another. As such, we get the impression that no single face is distinguishable, and in fact, the crowd are moving as one solid body. So this is basically a better, more developed version of that grade 6 one. You know, it's just more analytical, it's making a stronger point. The collective noun, people, so we've got more methods, more examples, also anonymises the crowd and evokes an almost pack mentality. The qualitative adjective all builds on this and suggests they were united in their excitement about the potential shooting. When the writer uses the metaphor, I was only a puppet, he reinforces the power of this crowd, and the ambiguous those faces just adds to the sense that as a collective force, they're able to pressure and coerce the writer into killing the elephant. So we've got a few different methods here. We've got ambiguity, we've got metaphor, we've got adjective, we've got nouns. So, you know, we've got some maybe 4 methods, but all being used to make the same point about the kind of force and dominance of the crowd. So we've got this kind of clear analysis and comment on language that's going on here. Comment of language. There's a number of relevant examples, and then coming towards the end, something nice and perceptive to finish off with. The crowd are also anticipatory. The verbs, and I'm got some clusters here, a couple of examples. The verbs watching and expected indicate their expectation and implied desire to see the shooting. This, combined with the adjective happy, creates an unpleasant, somewhat sadistic tone. As modern readers, we feel repulsed by their bloodlust. And so there's this real sense of kind of the effects of that sort of language right there at the end. So this sort of latter one, you know, full mark, looking at grade 9 quality on this latter part. But hopefully you can see that whatever grade you're aiming at, guys, whether you're wanting to pass your English, whether you're wanting to get a good, you know, 6 or even moving on to a grade 9, the structure that you use is the same. The writer uses the metaphor, the metaphor, the metaphor. It's all the same point, the same opening point and the same evidence. What's creating that difference is the comment that you can make on language. And hopefully looking at this, you can sort of see the way in which I've kind of built more sophisticated explanation in this grade 9 response. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope it was useful.